This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube, Twitter, and the internet alike and answer them here in video format. A ton, and I mean a ton of questions for me to get into. You guys had a ton of questions about the draft and everything else, but before I do, I want to make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can make sure you're notified when I put the question prompt out. If you want to make sure your questions are heard on this channel, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're notified so you can hit that question prompt up. All right, the first question comes from Bryman, the Flyman 42. He says, or they say, what type of production do you expect out of Tillman in his rookie year? And do you think this is a noticeable upgrade from any other fringe options in our crowded wide receiver room? This is an interesting question, right? Because while I like Cedric Tillman, the prospect, we have to talk about Cedric Tillman, the first year player, and what that means for his playing time in his rookie year. And I don't know what it means for his playing time in his rookie year. If you're asking me to do a production guess, I'm thinking I would be ecstatic if he had 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, that would be a great year for him. In what, maybe like 50 or 60 targets. That would be a nice base to build off of for Cedric. What is he a noticeable upgrade over some people? He's not going to be an upgrade from Donovan Peoples-Jones in year one. He's not going to be an upgrade from Amari Cooper. What he is an upgrade from is the depth, right? Whereas your third receiver for parts of last year was Anthony Schwartz, I take Cedric Tillman over him. I take Marquise Goodwin over him, right? That's where you're adding value, is the depth in year one. You're going to be deeper as a wide receiver core. The hope is that eventually he can be an upgrade to Donovan Peoples-Jones, or like high end, an upgrade to Amari Cooper, even though that's a lot to put on a young player in the third round. So that is what they want from the position. I think he is an upgrade there. I think the play ability, like the day one playability, is an upgrade over like a David Bell, where we weren't sure what David Bell's ability to play day one would be because he wasn't the most athletically gifted player. And I think this is something that needs to be expressed more often. We tend to look at the more athletic guys as the guys who aren't going to be able to play day one, and the more skilled guys as the ones who are going to be played day one, despite the fact that they don't have the requisite athleticism. That's something that needs to change. The more athletic you are, the more it is that you're able to hold your ground on the NFL football field when you're not ready. So the guys who could play now are the more athletic players. The less athletic you are, the longer it's going to take you to find your way to play in the NFL. Because if you don't have that base athletic ability to be able to stay on the field, then you have to figure out crafty ways to stay on the field. And what was crafty in college is not going to work in the NFL. That learning curve is much higher. That's why people are focusing on better athletes versus more skilled athletes, because we have learned that the more athletic players, they're actually the ones that are ready to play in year one versus the less athletic, crafty guys. Those guys take a while, if ever, to hit. So that's why I think Tillman will be more ready to be a producer in year one than like a David Bell, who's not necessarily super athletic. And I think he will probably be a depth piece and a rotational piece in that wide receiver core in year one. All right. Micah with the question here says, I think DTR is Jordan Love under Rodgers. He's a short-term at a long-term development prospect that becomes your at least transitional starter. During the few years, you have a young guy training under the wings. No, this is not that. One, Jordan Love was a first-round pick, right? DTR is a 5th-round pick. So the ideal that he's transitioning, he is not even guaranteed to transition onto the roster. at the 5th round, let alone be a long-term developmental prospect that becomes a transitional starter. And 2, the Browns' plan is not to let Deshaun Watson walk after the end of his contract. He's only 27 years old. You're talking about an Aaron Rodgers who was almost close to 37 years old when Jordan Love was drafted. 2 players on 2 completely different timelines. That's not the idea. He's not Jordan Love under Aaron Rodgers. He is a 5th round pick that we took because they valued him. And I'm guessing that the grade was 2nd or 3rd round on DTR. Right. And he was so high on their board that they felt like they couldn't ignore it. And they're going to take him here and see where the pieces fall. But this is not we have a plan, a grand plan for DTR. This is not we're going to develop him into this or that or no, this is we had somebody high on the board. We decided to take him because he was so much higher on the board than anybody else that we had in the draft. And we're just going to see where that lands us. Right. If it's a backup, it's a backup. If it's not, it's not. But here's the truth about DTR. If DTR is good, and he's good enough to be a backup at the very least, DTR is not going to be on this team past his rookie deal. If DTR is bad, DTR is not going to be on this team past his rookie deal. See, either he's an NFL level player and he's off the team after his rookie deal because young quarterbacks who have upside tend to get picked away by teams who need starters, and that's where he will be. Either off the team at the end of his rookie deal or on the team for his rookie deal, but never develops into anything and then we forget about him. He's not, the future with him is not in Cleveland. If DTR does anything of note at the quarterback position, he'll be somewhere else. He's not the long-term backup. He's not going to, if he develops into that, he's not going to be able to stay here. The Browns aren't going to be able to keep him. This is not something they did with the plan. I think that he was just so high up the board versus other prospects that they felt the need to do it. And I think it's just that simple. I think people are trying to make and put together pieces of a puzzle that aren't there. Robert M says, hey, what players, if any, were drafted this year you feel would be ready to start week 1, assuming proper coaching and development, of course, and which ones need another season or 2 in the oven before they are ready? Okay, so here, players that, I'll say this. If Siaki Ika can't play year 1, he's pointless. I don't see the need there. I think Cam Mitchell has a chance to play week 1 as a rotational corner. Really good run defender, really good tackler. If those things hold up in the preseason and he stays healthy, he will have a role on this team. Maybe Isaiah McGuire, because he's intriguing with his size and weight. He seems to be a more ready player. He has that athletic ability as well. Cedric Tillman, we talked about him being a rotational player. Everybody else, like Luke Whippler's not going to start at center this year. DAWAND Jones is somebody who he's not going to start because you already have 2 established starters at the edge, at your tackle situation for the Cleveland Browns. But what could happen with somebody like DAWAND Jones is that he's tackle eligible and he has a little bit of a role where they rotate him in and out in certain packages and try to get creative with it. So there's that. But I don't think that any of these dudes are going to be asked to do more than play a role that were drafted this year. And that's where you want to be. The good teams don't throw people in the starting spots in year 1 unless they're like top 10 picks. And usually good teams don't have top 10 picks. And either way, you want to ease these guys into NFL play, let them find themselves without losing complete confidence. And that'll be something that they will do with those young players that they drafted. All right, the next question comes from Dr. Maggie, who says, what comparison or difference between the Colts at Atomia, at Aborway, and our Isaiah McGuire in terms of style and scheme fit? They're completely different players, to be honest with you. Double A is a shorter, undersized, but really powerful 3-edge hybrid. He's somebody who back in the day we would have categorized as because he's undersized, a 3-4 edge in the same way that James Harrison was like undersized and categorized as a 3-4 edge, even though now today we know that those guys can play in a 4-3 as well. And even some 3 tech as well because of their length, well, their lack of like height, their ability to get low. That's why I saw with him. Isaiah McGuire is a tweener in a different way where he has length and strength, a little bit more of an athlete, a little bit more upside there with him, where I think the floor is a lot higher with Adetomiah. But that's kind of the difference in those two prospects. If you would have got them both, I mean, that would have been great. But, you know, one of them's fine. Roland Sweat says, would you like to see DaWand Jones in a role like the fridge with the Bears? I would and can't imagine stopping him with the rock behind our O-line. Here's the thing with DaWand Jones. The tape is good on him, right? Like, this isn't a big dude that you're trying to mold and teach him how to play football. He seems to be pretty good at playing football. The question is, how like dedicated is he to doing that, and how much of a problem is that going to be throughout the course of the year? Now, these problems never popped up at Ohio State. It's also important to remember that Ohio State wins like 90% of their games, if not like 98% of their games. So, and also he was playing all that time. The question with DaWand Jones is, hey, if this team struggles a bit, is he going to check out? Is he going to be the type of player that like disappears during the season? Not like, oh, he's not playing well, disappears, but like literally disappears. You know, those are the questions about DaWand Jones. Those are the concerns, the anxiety that surround the NFL GMs about him. But if you do put him in a role at like the fridge, he will be able to do that. He's a good blocker. He's long, strong, big. Like, he is really good when he's on the field. But the questions about him aren't about him on the field. And it's not necessarily the same way that we talk about like guys off the field is that they're going to get in trouble. This is much different and much scarier for NFL GMs, because a dude that has criminal issues, they can deal with that. The NFL has dealt with that time in and time in before. It's not a problem. A dude who has, he mouths off a little, he's passionate. Okay, yeah, the NFL can deal with that. A dude who, is kind of indifferent about playing football, that terrifies coaches because they don't know how to deal with that, right? And that doesn't mean that player can't be useful to you. Plenty of players are like that. You could be, they have turned out to be useful for the team, but that's why coaches were so scared off by him. And I don't even think the Browns coaches are much different in that. Like, I think this is somebody who the GM really liked and you had to take. Another question about DaWand Jones is, I think DaWand was drafted to be the Wills replacement. I also think the next draft they will get Conklin's replacement. The way I see it is, it doesn't matter the talent level of Jed. Is there's no desire to play in his body language. He doesn't care much. If one of is not the best offensive line coaches can't fix him, then nothing will. What are your thoughts? Yeah, but like, if that's your issue with Jed Wills, DaWand Jones is not the change, right? Like, DaWand Jones is relatively similar with some of the body language stuff, some of the, hey, I did my job kind of stuff where he blocks, gets his guy down, and he's done for the day. Like, that's DaWand Jones. DaWand Jones literally destroyed everybody at day one of Senior Bowl practice. I mean, like, balled out day one Senior Bowl practice, and it was never seen again. Like, that is more extreme than anything Jed Wills has done. So, like, if you think DaWand Jones is going to be a breath of fresh air from that, like that, no, it's not. It's not. It's not. Jed Wills has a number of issues that bother people. I also would consider this. Some players just can't be on losing teams because their motivation to play football is being good at it and being on good teams. Some dudes are front runners. A lot of dudes in the NFL are like this. Right. And that's not like to shame them or anything else like that. Everybody's relationship at a professional level with football is different. From the media level to the player level, everybody has a different relationship with football. And from what I've observed from the outside looking in with very little information, I feel like Jed Wills is a little bit of a front runner. If this team starts off and plays well, not going to be that much of an issue with Jed Wills. You're not going to see the body language. You're not going to see any of the stuff that you was mad about this year. It's not going to happen at the same clip. If the team stinks, Yes, you're going to see all this stuff, and it's going to make you furious. But the team stinks, right? There's bigger problems. So that's kind of the situation you're in with Jed. I think if the team's good, he'll be all right. If the team's not good, then we're going to have problems. Again, this is why Deshaun Watson's so important. If he plays well, it fixes so many other issues that this team has, some that are below the surface like that, right? Another question from Tony Hill says, we didn't grab a youngster running back. Any chance Kareem comes back for a deal and is on the third on the depth chart for minimum money in case one of the two get hurt, and maybe to be a three-headed monster when we need three great backs? I think we all need to accept the reality that the days of the Browns having a 1-2 punch at running back is over. I said this in the past, and I'll continue to say this. People think Nick Chubb's carries are going to go down. I don't believe that. I think his carries are going to stay relatively similar to what it's been throughout his career. Right? He's been a 15 to 18 carry a game guy. He will stay at 15 to 18 carry a game. What is going to change is the amount of total rushing attempts. Where the Browns used to have rushing attempts that accommodated two running backs, now only run running back with somebody else to get the scraps, like maybe 3-4 carries a game. Nick Chubb's carry percentage is going to go up. The other running back's carry percentage is going to go down. And if you need more of an example of this, it's the fact that they did not draft a young running back or even go after a running back in free agency. The emphasis on that position has gone down significantly because they're expecting Nick Chubb to carry about 85 to 90% of the load of the carries at running back versus, him taking 65 and Kareem Hunt getting 35 of the carries, right? So the load's going to be much higher. They're not really going to ask much out the backup running back, and they feel like that the backups that they have right now are more than capable of filling a minimal role. That's my opinion and my read on the situation. Thank you for the question, Tony. The next question comes from J.S. Streams, who says, do you think Jakeem Grant will make the team even as a return specialist? No, probably not. Like, it'll be a great story if he does, but he's fighting such an uphill battle. A Achilles tear at that age, at that position with his skill set, it's usually detrimental to your NFL career. Pee Wee's Burnt Pieces says, can you name one player drafted from each of the AFC North teams that concern you? Everybody at the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted. Trenton Simpson for the Ravens is somebody that I liked a lot, and they got and Andre Iosivas from the Bengals is somebody I liked that they got. So those are my guys there. But that's it for the Q&A today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have a good night.